And Derek, how you doing? Hi,
Hey,
hi everybody.
doing great. Thanks for joining us. I'm really excited for your session. We heard a little
Yeah,
bit about email success, and I know you're going to give us some additional tactics for Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Something tells me a lot of these are going to be centered around ad campaign strategy, but you tell me. I'll let you introduce yourself, and I'm sure you'll show us a little bit about DNA and what you've been up to. I hinted at it at the top of the session, the phenomenal ability to just automatically optimize where that campaign budget is going across all the channels. It's going to be huge for Black Friday,
absolutely,
but I bet you have a
absolutely.
whole slide on it. So I'll add your slide. It's here. If you want to hit the hide button on that little thing in the middle, and
Not a
then I'll let
problem.
you, yeah, take it away. Perfect. Looks good.
Yeah. So, yes, I do have a slide or four about DNA, but I figured that it would be really great to show everybody and talk in more general terms about your entire marketing stack to help you get the right frames of mind to really succeed for BFCM. I walked through. I've been here for the entirety of Ecom Tech, and for example, Kunle's session was really great and exceptionally detailed on how to just supercharge whatever you're doing on the email side, and even to get some high level tactics on the advertising side. I'll talk about how DNA can help you facilitate some of that. But first off, let me go over the high level 5+ strategies that skyrocket BFCM e-commerce profits for brands like yours. So a little bit more about myself. Um, let's see, I think I skipped the slide somehow. But my name is Zeze Peters. I'm the founder and CEO of BeamCity. Our flagship product is called DNA. It helps you to run all your ads from one place, and then our AI kicks in to give you amazing results on Google, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, Yahoo, Bing, Twitter, LinkedIn, Amazon, YouTube, Pinterest, and TikTok. And the whole idea here is you want to unify your advertising workflow in the fewest possible steps, while AI makes sure you get the best results. So we're all here today to talk about BFCM, and really the countdown has begun, right? So we've got 57 days to go. Last year was a blowout year for e-commerce in North America, with about $20 billion spent on just those 2 days. That's the Black Friday and the Cyber Monday, not including the week before, the weekend, and the rest of the season, which was a triple-digit billion-dollar scenario. And we expect that 2021 will be better because the world is reopening. Fewer lockdowns in less cities and across the continent and across the world. Oh, that's where my slide went. And I was about to talk about myself, but I've already introduced myself, founder and CEO of BeamCity. My background is in aerospace engineering, where I've worked on e-commerce, applied AI, big data systems, and that's why I built DNA. And so there's some problems that came up last year that is very kind of a good idea for people to pay attention to. So while 2020 was great for e-commerce, 2020 was a disappointment for shoppers. So if you don't pay attention to what keeps shoppers upset, you're not going to be able to make them delighted, and they may come, but they may not come back. So it's not just about showing up on Black Friday or Cyber Monday. It's about bringing them back over and over again with the right strategies. So you don't want to give them poor deals, poor customer care, because that definitely affects your sales overall. So e-commerce is hot. It's growing really quickly. I mean, that's why everybody is here. But this means that people are going online and finding more places to buy stuff, which means your competition has gone all the way through the roof. Anybody who's been paying attention has noticed that your CPCs are going wild on almost all the ad platforms due to this competition, due to the different sources of information, and also due to changes in iOS 14 as well as Chrome. Everybody knows and has been having the issue that, hey, you know what? Since the cookies went away, I've had trouble converting at the same amount. My audiences aren't working as well. And BeamCity DNA, we have ways to help you solve that problem using persona-based targeting, using AI-driven prospecting, as well as remarketing across all the channels. And of course, everybody's been having inventory problems, especially if you've been shipping from China or Taiwan. But don't panic. It's really time to strategize. And this session is meant to go through the key strategies quickly so that by the very end, I can get maximum numbers of questions. And I'll go through them really so that you can get to know, what do you need to know? When do you need to do it? And how are you going to delight customers so you can get the best results? And what kind of technologies will you be able to use to really drive this all the way home. So strategy number one, you've got to do data correctly, right? So anybody who's here a marketer of their salt has probably done a good job of setting up analytics properly already, and you do a review of your existing sales data. But what you need to do before you get anywhere close to BFCM, and you should be doing this right now, is taking a look at your past performance. If you're a new brand, then what have you done so far this year? What are the trends of audiences? Where are they coming from? How do they visit and navigate your site? What are your cohorting? What is your cohorting? And you need to basically make audiences for all of these cohorts across all of these sources, so you can reach back to them with customized messages. And we'll talk about that later. Another thing is you need to mine your category trends. So in the world of retail, consumers have buying behaviors that are well known to be triggered by things like weather, things like the news cycle, things like what everybody else in the zeitgeist is talking about. You're going to need to spend a whole bunch of time mining your categories using Google Trends. There are a lot of data providers you can use. And actually in DNA, in time for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, we're going to be having retail buy signals that allow you to run your ads at exactly the right time in exactly the right zip codes to get that sale. So this keeps your CPCs low so that you don't have to pay huge amounts of dollars on the day of trying to get those eyeballs. Next thing is, the early bird eats first, right? So everybody knows this intrinsically, but many of us don't follow these rules for Black Friday, Cyber Monday. It means that if you wait until Black Friday, Cyber Monday to get the attention of your customer, you've waited too late, right? You might end up having to spend, like really high bid amounts just so you can beat your competition, and that's a valid strategy. However, what I found to be even more useful is engage with your content producers, your influencers now, so you can drive people to your well set up site. And this means that once they come to your site to just kind of see what you're doing, whether it's for a promotion or for some content launch or whatever the case might be, they end up in your audience, right? So some people, really emphasize the capture of leads, and lead capture is actually very essential for many kinds of businesses. But in the e-commerce world, it's really hard to follow up, phone call wise or email wise with every single lead, considering the ad block, the email blocker, spam, and all that kind of stuff. As everybody knows here, in any email chain, maybe 30% of people will open your email, and then a percentage of that will respond. But if you have a long form ad campaign for people who have come into your audience dragnet, you're able to reach even more of them at a low cost. Obviously not as low as free, which is what email can frequently be, but certainly low enough to keep your cost of acquisition quite low. So the aim here is you bring them cheap and bring them cheap back on BFCM. Don't be confusing. So a lot of brands make this mistake where they change the brand colors, they change the brand imagery, the brand wording from medium to medium. It's really not a good idea. It makes consumers confusing. In fact, even just changing the domain that they land on from what initially was, and frequently people do this when they're doing A to B testing or they're trying out new content. They might use really great tools like Unbounce and so on to try new things. But if you're not doing the additional step of making sure that your DNS is properly masked, that the URLs are landing in human readable URLs and things like that, people land on it and they get kind of confused and get hesitant about doing the next thing. So you want to make sure you're using the exact same imagery or really highly derived imagery. Don't make the colors vary too much from the initial ad or the initial email to your website, because then people will see the change and they'll think that maybe they're on a phishing site or they've done something wrong, and that reduces their trust on your site. You have to use closely matched copy. You have to exact match your CTAs. A lot of people don't recognize that this is a really key thing. You think you do the lend more on the ad and you land on the landing page and you say you submit now. Submit now is good, and it's good to put the instructions, but customers don't like variation, right? They want to go all the way through with marching orders. So you give them the orders and make them consistent. One of the key things that our clients have seen that helps really well here is, regardless of the brand that you've got, you usually have some idea of the ideal customer personas. And so the key step here is think about your customer personas, write them down, work as a team, figure this all out before the end of October, so that you can go back into steps 1 and 2 to pull that stuff in, and then have really highly targeted, focused advertising for customers, whether they're coming from marketplaces, whether they're coming directly to your site, whether they're using Google Shopping, wherever it is that you're coming from, social media, and on and on. Number 4 is you got to show proof that you can be trusted. And now I know everybody knows that, yes, reviews are the key thing. You put testimonials, but one of the key things that I put this on here for is most people are not spending enough energy taking full advantage of the fact that customers love video, and video demos are extremely engaging and very, very convincing for customers. So, I know it's only 2 months left for people to create any content such as this, but there are lots of really good production houses that can help you create such content. You can create it, make it highly featured. I've seen brands like ShareText and others use this to extremely great effect to effectively show people that, hey, this is why we're different. This is why our stockings, in their case, are basically bulletproof. And that gives the customer confidence that, hey, you know what? These guys know what they're doing. They're willing to show me, take a risk. I will take a risk with my wallet. You want to be able to do this ahead of time. Like I mentioned, the early bird eats all the worms, so that people can have that confidence in you, so that by the time BFCM comes, they're not doing additional research. Make sure they know you beforehand and they trust you beforehand, so they can buy from you on the day of. Strategy number 5, just show love to your customers, right? So, one of the things that makes most brands, actually, if you look at every successful brand in the Fortune 1000, the key things that have made them successful is a killer product and great customer support. So, people who want to buy from you, why do they usually buy from physical stores? They go there, they can try it out, they can ask for help. You don't want them to have any hoops to jump through when it comes to doing the same things online. Of course, they can't try clothes over the internet, but they can certainly ask questions. So you want to make sure that you reduce the amounts of friction that it takes for them to get what they need from you. So that means if a customer is ready to buy, don't make them have to jump through hoops. Use no account purchases. I know a whole bunch of platforms support this, but if yours does not, look for how to make this work. A lot of customers don't want to jump through all the hoops of making an account and a password and all of that. They just want to buy something. And in fact, personally, I've never set up a Travelocity account. I always just use the guest account and buy, and I just skip several minutes of setup and log in. So this is not for everybody, but quite a few of your customers don't want to jump through the hoops of having additional identities all across the internet. Give them a chance to buy. Don't demand accounts. Chatbots are very important. You can use platforms like Drift, Intercom, Fresh Chat we use on our platform, so that when people are on your site and they've got a question to ask that might not be in your FAQs, there's someone on your team that can answer them in a reasonable amount of time, so that they can get the answers that they need. And getting those answers is another way to build and have that trust. And the best thing about customers is the fact that it's social proof. The more of that kind of conversation you have, proof points of people saying, yes, this is awesome, whether it's in chat, it's in your facts, or it's in your reviews, you're able to let other people have higher confidence in you. And this boils back down to bonuses. When people show you love, show love back by giving them rewards and bonuses. Of course, we can, we're marketers. We have to get something in addition out of it, sorry to say. And so you can give them the opportunity to speak out, make a post on LinkedIn or on Twitter or on Facebook to let people know that, hey, this is what we did. Do a preliminary NPS survey to make sure that they love the service you're getting. And if it shows that they love what you're doing and how your team is treating them, then you can send them over to Google to give a Google review, or to Amazon to give an Amazon review, and every single review counts. The key thing, though, is you don't need to wait for everybody to give you 5 stars. 5 stars are great, but everybody wants to know where the chink in the armor is, and it's also good to show some vulnerability once in a while. So these are the top 5 strategies. However, I put in 2 extra strategies and, of course, additional notes about BeamCity DNA in here. So we'll go to the next one. It's a bonus strategy. So bring audiences back on time. So just like Kunle said, and just like I'm sure you've heard more than once during Ecom Tech, you got to be using your remarketing. You got to be using your emails to bring people back. A lot of people, you'll build your email list which is fantastic. But you also have your pixel list, that's your Facebook pixel list. You also have your Google audience lists. You have your global unique identifier list from other data sources. So you want to make sure you keep track of all of these, because while they don't have personally identifiable information, they are valid and useful to helping you get in front of those people again, whether they're on a display network, on a social network, some other network where technically about them generally, but you don't know specifically about them. It's also very helpful because most platforms allow you to target similar audiences, lookalikes. Of course, using 1% lookalikes on Facebook has historically been good. I would really advise you widen that a little bit, and that way you can get more people earlier than BFCM. Really use that to strengthen up your total remarketing audience lists. Super duper powerful stuff. The last piece that I'll say there, though, is many people always assume that email and ads are separate and therefore have no overlap. What we've seen is when an email is sent in tandem with an ad campaign that is targeted very narrowly at the same set of people, you get significantly better engagement, follow through, and even purchases. So I'd always advise that you run your remarketing ad campaigns, whether it's on social or on search, in tandem with email campaigns targeted at the same narrow set of personas, same narrow set of people in the same geographical area, so that you can see people who are already your customers go into the email inbox. Those who are not already in your email, they see the ad, and then there's some ability to shake hands in the middle, right? Because people whose friends don't know anything about you, they will see it from ads, and those who do know will see it in the email. And if you have a way to get people to kind of share this content, this will give you the best results. The last thing here is go multi-channel. And frankly, not just go multi-channel generally, go multi-channel using AI and automations that help you to really scale all this work. Right, so every marketer out there before before BFCM is already really busy. You're creating all the campaigns, making sure on a month-to-month basis, on a channel partner to channel partner basis, everything is happening at the right time, at the right pace. But you've got so many tools that it's actually quite overwhelming. And so you want to use multi-channel AI tools, kind of like what we do at BeamCity DNA, to consolidate all your advertising, or in the case of marketing, consolidate all your marketing into the fewest number of buckets so that you can do the most work with the fewest steps. For example, on BeamCity DNA, you can create completely new campaigns from scratch, stuff that if you're using SCAGs or more advanced targeting techniques could take you several hours, takes about 5 minutes on BeamCity DNA. In fact, it's actually a single button click, but the entire process might be 5 minutes. You take that, you combine that with the ability to push your ads onto multiple platforms simultaneously. The AI is watching your results, tweaking to make sure that your budgets focus on where you're getting the best results, shutting down the stuff that's not working for you. It means that instead of wasting 3 out of 5 ad dollars, you end up skyrocketing your advertising profits using AI. The great thing about this, though, is it saves your team a ton of time. You gain insights fast, and you can do more tests in more places. What we've seen very frequently is clients will bring in their existing campaigns. Our platform optimizes and eats those for breakfast. That's very easy. But then all the insights that they get back, they want to run really quick audience-driven tests, and run new segments, try new demographics on the same or on more channels. And because the platform does cross-platform audience building and targeting, it means that you don't have to figure out how to speak Google from Facebook or Facebook from Pinterest. The platform figures that out for you. It publishes it for you. You can get the right results and get really good outcomes. So really, I try to go through this quickly, like I mentioned, so we can get through some questions right away. Shoot for the stars using 7 key strategies. Do the data correctly. So that means set up your analytics correctly. Make sure you're looking at your past data, and even use buy signals to make sure that people on your team have set up the ad campaigns to show up at exactly the right place to exactly the right people for the right categories at the right time. And BeamCity DNA in Q4 will be able to help you do that automatically. early birds eat first. So, if you want to have lower costs at BFCM, start dragging them into your pixel dragnets now. So that means content, influencers, blog posts, PR, whatever it is that can bring them in. That way, ethically, you can target them using Facebook pixels, Google audiences, bring them back more affordably because they know you. And frankly, 90% of people will buy from brands that they know. Don't be confusing. Keep your messaging consistent. That means don't change the colors all of a sudden. Don't change the wording too much. Make it consistent from A to B to Z, and that way customers are able to be guided through the process much more calmly, much more cleanly, and your pipelines become significantly more successful because of that. Show proof of trust. Everybody's talking about reviews. You're talking about testimonials, but video-based demos are fantastic because customers can see it in live action, and that way they can get even more trust than just looking at the fact that you've got 1,000 5-star reviews. Frankly, it's also good to have a few 3 stars as well, where people see some of your vulnerabilities, and it's better for expectation setting. Love customers explicitly, right? People come to your site, use your chat box, you set up really good FAQs, make sure that people who need help can get the help. I know a lot of e-commerce businesses that I've worked with in the past don't necessarily lean into that because they're worried about the volume issue, which is what chatbots are for. So put in some drift, put in some fresh chat, put in some intercom, help your brand grow and scale with the number of customers that are coming in. Do it now, be good at it so that when BFCM comes, your team just is a lot more free to succeed the whole time. Bring audiences back. That's a bonus one, but it's a thing that everybody knows about, remarketing. But it's not just remarketing in general. It's remarketing early, remarketing on time, and combining it with emails and other forms of advertising so you can really leverage and make sure that all of these feed off each other. And finally, use AI as leverage so that you can unify all your advertising in one place, whether it's on social or search, display, lead advertising, shopping ads, whatever the case might be. Get it done in one place so you can see your strategy all at once, execute it all at once, get the best results thanks to AI. So, Derek, I'm more than I'm super happy and ready to answer any questions anybody might have right now.
Let's you gave us so much to think about here, but I want to hone in on what you're up to at BeamCity. Actually, I wanted to even know, how do you go from rocket science to advertising? Like what do you not miss from that the before time, and what do you miss?
Well, from the before time, I worked on microgravity robots. I worked on health robots, UAVs, ground robots, all sorts of stuff. So I'm a roboticist, aerospace engineer. So I love that stuff because you're always innovating, always making new things. But the key thing about aerospace is everything is complex and you've got to test everything to see what works and then really follow and run down that rabbit hole wherever it's got to go. I found that, right after that, I was working on e-commerce platforms for all sorts of different brands, and we'll make a new platform, we'll make a new product, and we'll get stuck at the advertising step. And stuck to me means that I don't get results this week. So I tried to kind of follow that rabbit hole a little bit, and I noticed that there are like 17 steps that most advertisers have to go through. Many of us have just put them at the back of the mind, but when you're talking about things like strategy, content creation, persona building, audiences, targeting on every single platform, remarketing, and so on and so forth, I mean, it's an overwhelming amount of work. So, and because of the overwhelm, most of us we don't have the time, frankly, to do the best that we can. So that's why I decided to build DNA, is to make advertisers basically rocket scientists, to really simplify their jobs and get the best results. So I see a parallel right there. It's both complicated stuff. You've got to run all the way down to the bottom.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I think, you're looking at, you saw the problem and you said AI can be leveraged to solve for this. We don't need humans doing manual bid adjusting,
Oh my God,
and all of that stuff. Let's get them the heck out of there.
yeah.
So that's very interesting. So when would somebody want to work with you? When would they want to use your tool? I'm sure we have like a minimum ad spend, or maybe you want a media buyer in-house to own it, or an agency or something like that.
Well, actually, we love working with in-house media buyers and agencies alike. So, for in-house media buyers, it's fantastic because it usually means that their internal team is more mature is the word that I want to say, because a lot of companies, they can't afford to take on that additional expertise, right? So instead, they might outsource it to an agency. But if they have the ability to take that in house, that means they can iterate faster with ads, iterate faster with social, iterate faster with email. And so we love working with both groups. In all cases, though, the kind of customers we love the most are those who are already advertising. We don't have minimum ad buys, by the way.
Okay.
So that people can come in with their existing strategy. They have the capability to make content, and then our platform helps them to automate all the technical steps. That way, you can come in and be creative, maximally A/B test to your heart's content on every single thing, get the best results, and execute them in one click from one place on all the platforms. So for agencies, we have special relationship with agencies, because with agencies, you own the client relationship, you own the strategy, you own the content, you own the expectation of success. Our platform can come in and help you to automate a lot of the technical processes. So there's a bunch of things about agencies that I don't want to say out loud. I think you should get bookings with me. I have a slide in a couple of places where you can find a meeting situation that you can book, and I can work with you as an agency. We can work with you directly as a media buying team.
Perfect. Be sure to share that link with me. We'll put it in the show notes in here. And yeah, we've got our agency coming up next, by the way. Richard's in the green room going, what is it that you don't want to say about me?
Well, we love agencies, right? And the way we see it is there's a huge amount of additional attention that the world of digital advertising is getting, thanks to the acceleration of e-commerce. But most of the world does not have the skill, strategy, or content to succeed in any meaningful way, and which is why agencies exist. Agencies come with that expertise of strategy, of content, so that you can come in and succeed on whatever platform. It's just that it's really hard to be good on any single one platform. Like I show on this slide, there's so many of them that most agencies focus on one or two and leave all the rest alone because there's just too much to learn. And so what we decided is that, let's make a platform that allows you to automate 13 of the 17 steps, so you can do a lot of work in a few minutes, and then the AI helps you get fantastic results. Instead of doing it all yourself, the AI kind of comes in and helps you out. And so, for everybody who is part of Ecom Tech, and I didn't wait for Derek to tell me, 50% off any BeamCity annual subscription, as long as you come in by the end of next week. You chat in our chat box and tell us you found us here, and we'll be more than willing to meet with you, work with you, help you to really come dominate BFCM. That's bottom line.
That's awesome. And yeah, we've got our BeamCity link as well. I'm just grabbing it here. Perfect. Yeah, there it is. Everybody, be sure to check them out. I think this can really solve a lot of problems for advertisers and for agencies. I think I ran a social media advertising agency. So if you can get me, from 250 ROAS to 300%, like that's a pretty huge win for my clients. And they'll only thank me. They won't even thank you. I'll thank you.
And that's the best thing, right? We don't need to be visible. We just want you and your clients to succeed as an agency or as a brand, bottom line.
Awesome. Love it. Zeze, thanks so much for joining us. Looking forward to having you back at a future event.
Yes,
thanks
sir.
so much for the big tips. And everybody, you can check out BeamCity right here. And I dropped a link in the chat. Awesome. We will see you,
everybody.
Next time.